You know why you're not supposed to open the curtains on a night train? I was on a train once, snowed in by a blizzard in the mountains, when I saw a tall figure with unusually long limbs standing in the fog, waving at me. I was just wondering what it could be when my dad's face turned pale. He yanked the curtain shut and whispered to my mom, trembling all over, "It's here." "What's here?" It was almost 6 in the evening, the sky already darkening. My mom had been dozing in her seat, and she mumbled sleepily. It's here. It's watching me from the mountain." My dad repeated himself, eyes wide with a terror I couldn't describe. The carriage was warm. Everyone had on thick coats, and their faces were flushed from the heat. Everyone except my dad. He was so pale he looked like he'd been dead for 3 days. My mom seemed to suddenly remember something. Her eyes went wide, and she snapped awake. "You sure you didn't imagine it? It's been decades. That thing should be dead by now." My dad shook his head. "I don't think I imagined it." My mom's face went pale too. She opened the curtain just a sliver and peeked outside. After a long moment, some color finally returned to her cheeks. "You must have been seeing things. There's nothing out there." She pinched a hunk of flesh from his side. "You bastard, are you trying to scare me on purpose because I was falling asleep?" My dad winced from the pain and muttered, "I swear I saw it." "Still, pretending?" My mom rolled her eyes. "We moved away years ago. It's never showed up. Why would it come now just because we're taking a trip? Do you even realize how far we are?" "Nearly 200 kilometers. My dad nodded. "You're right. Maybe I was wrong. Even if it's not dead, there's no way it could have followed us this far." Still, he seemed unconvinced. He peeled the curtain back again for one more look, and the moment he did, he jolted so hard he nearly jumped out of his seat. His reaction got everyone in the car looking at him. My mom slapped him across the shoulder. "What the hell are you doing?" My dad yanked the curtain shut and held it tight. It took a while before he could stop shaking. "It's here. It really is." One look at his face, and you could tell he wasn't kidding. My mom took a peek through the curtain slit too, and in the next second, she went limp in her seat. My dad wrapped his arms around her, both of them trembling like leaves. "What do we do?" he muttered. "It found us. There's no getting away." My mom sobbed. "Why? It's been decades. It was our parents' fault, not ours. Why won't it let us go?" I was totally confused by their reaction. "Mom, Dad, what is that thing?" My dad shook his head. "Don't say its name. If you do, it'll remember your voice, and then we'll really be done for." I still didn't get why they were so scared. Curious, I looked out the window. The figure was much bigger than I remembered. It looked like it was covered in thick fur. The sky was dark, and it was far away, so I couldn't see it clearly, but it was definitely humanoid, with long limbs. At first, it had been halfway up the mountain, but in just the time we'd been talking, it had made its way down to the base. For some reason, my legs started shaking without my permission. My mom pinched her thigh hard, and that seemed to bring some strength back to her. She looked at my dad and said, "Tony, we can't just sit here and wait to die." My dad nodded. "But the snow sealed off the mountain. The train's already stopped. Who knows when it'll move again? That thing tracked us for hundreds of kilometers at this distance. It'll be here in no time." My dad thought for a moment, then left to find a conductor. He came back not long after. "Well?" my mom asked, anxiously. My dad's face was grim. "Snow's too heavy. At the earliest, the train won't move till tomorrow." My mom slumped back into her seat. "We're screwed." My dad was silent for a moment, then suddenly pulled her up. "Come on, we need to switch cars. There are so many people on board. The scent might confuse it. Maybe it won't find us." My mom stood up immediately. We didn't even stop to grab our seats. She grabbed my hand and led me into another car. This was back in a time when train routes were few and far between, so the car was jam-packed with people and noise. Seeing the crowd, my dad finally looked a bit relieved. The three of us huddled in a corner, my parents holding my hands tightly. I could feel how slick their palms were, drenched in sweat. We just have to wait. No matter how strong it is, it can't break a train open. Once we get moving, we'll be safe. It can't keep up. My mom nodded silently, saying nothing. Just then, someone screamed. The entire car, which had been buzzing with chatter, went silent in an instant. Everyone turned toward the sound. A young man was staring at his phone in the dim light, tears running down his face. Mom, Dad. His voice was heart-wrenching. My parents pushed through the crowd to take a look. After seeing the young man's face, they exchanged a glance. Larry, what happened? My dad asked. My mom handed him a tissue. Larry was from our village too, lived on the west end. We were from the east. We didn't talk much back home, but we knew each other. Who'd have thought we'd meet on the same train? Larry looked up at them. Tony, Sis, my parents are gone. What? My parents gasped. What happened? Larry raised his phone, showing them the screen. I leaned over to take a look. The image was bloody and brutal. Larry's backyard. Two bodies lay twisted and mutilated. Heads gone, chewed up like they'd been eaten alive. The ground was soaked with blood. From the clothes, you could tell they were Larry's parents. Passengers who saw the image all turned pale. Poor guy. Maybe a bear wandered into the village? These mountains have them. Beasts like that should be shot. People began murmuring. Only my parents lowered their heads, saying nothing. It was the first time in my nearly 10 years of life that I'd seen anything like that. My stomach churned. I fought back the urge to vomit. Mom, Dad, I whispered. Could it be that thing? My parents immediately clapped their hands over my mouth. Don't say that. Larry must have heard me, because he looked up, staring at me. What did you say? What thing? My dad jumped in. Some horror story I told him when he was little. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Larry, still overwhelmed by grief, didn't press. He just kept flipping through his phone's photo album. How could this happen? I was only gone for a few hours. How could they be gone? In the album were pictures from earlier that day, his parents standing in their yard, waving goodbye. The photo was a bit blurry, probably taken from a distance. Larry stared at the photo, tears still streaming down his cheeks. Then someone nearby leaned in and said, "Hey, what's that?" Larry looked up, surprised. A middle-aged man was pointing at his phone. Zoom in on that spot. Larry didn't know what he meant, but he did it anyway, enlarging the photo. Yeah, right there, the man said. He pointed at a corner of the image behind the garden wall. Barely visible was a shadowy figure. It had a long arm raised, as if waving at the camera. The picture had caught it in mid-motion. What the hell is that? Larry's face went white. His parents were standing in front of the wall, and even they didn't reach its full height. But that shadowy figure was a full head taller than the wall, which meant it had to be over 2 meters tall. Larry's skin broke out in goosebumps. The man was silent for a moment. That thing might be what killed your parents. A bear? Larry asked, voice trembling. It was winter, hardly any sun, and the place was always wrapped in fog that never seemed to clear. The thing in the photo was dark and hard to make out in such light, but it definitely wasn't anything normal. The middle-aged man paused for a moment. Maybe it was a bear, but I've never seen one that big in my entire life. Someone else spoke up. No way that was a bear. Bears hibernate in winter. Why would it be out now in those arms? Bears don't have arms that long. Larry was swaying on his feet. Then what the hell was it? No one nearby could answer. The passengers who had been watching all fell silent. My parents exchanged a look. Something flickered in my mom's eyes hesitation. She opened her mouth, as if about to say something, but my dad tugged gently at her sleeve and shook his head. In the end, they didn't say a word about it. They just offered Larry a few words of comfort, and then led me back to a quiet corner of the train. "Why didn't you tell Larry, Mom? He deserves to know," I whispered. My dad ignored me. He leaned toward my mom and whispered, "We can't talk about this. Larry just left home. He still carries his parents' scent. That thing devoured his parents. It might still be tracking them. If its attention's still on Larry, then maybe we..." My dad didn't finish his sentence, but my mom already understood what he meant. If it was focused on Larry, then our chances of survival as a family would go up. "But Larry's innocent," she said, her voice trembling with guilt. My dad glanced at me, jaw clenched. "Our family comes first. We're sorry for Larry, but we have no choice." My mom fell silent. I didn't quite understand what they were saying, but the air suddenly felt thick, like time itself had frozen. Darkness swallowed everything outside the windows. You couldn't see your own hand in front of your face. By 9 o'clock, nothing had happened. My parents finally began to relax a little. It really does track by scent. With this many people on board, it can't lock onto user Larry. It wouldn't dare make a move. Just then, a loud thud echoed from above. It sounded like something heavy had landed on the roof. Some passengers who had been dozing shot awake. What was that? Bang, bang. 2 more dull thumps followed. Whatever was up there was moving. The sound was rhythmic like footsteps. "There's something on the roof?" Panic crept across the passengers' faces. "Tony, is it here?" My mom's face had gone ghost white. "Keep your voice down. Don't let it hear us." My dad pulled me and my mom close. "This thing's unreal. We switched so many cars. How the hell did it find us? Could it be a wild animal that jumped on top? Maybe a tiger or a wild boar. Nothing else would be that heavy." The car buzzed with speculation. One braver passenger pulled out his phone, switched on the flashlight, and stuck his head out the window. "Be careful," someone warned. "You don't want it to grab you." The man didn't respond. Every eye in the car was fixed on him. Seconds ticked by. After 20 seconds or so with no movement, someone beside him nudged his arm. "What do you see up there? Say something." That push was all it took. The man's body slumped forwards oft, lifeless. That's when the others realized his head was gone. His neck had been sliced clean, like something razor sharp had lopped his head right off. Someone screamed. The car erupted into chaos. Everyone panicked. People scrambled over each other, trying to flee to other cars, but the train was packed. There was nowhere to go. The crush of bodies pushed the 3 of us into the next car. The commotion quickly caught the attention of the train police. 2 officers arrived and saw the headless body. Their expressions turned grim as they began questioning those nearby. After getting a quick rundown, they tried to calm everyone, then headed into the neighboring cars. They locked off the doors to both adjacent compartments. Not long after, they returned, one of them holding a long weapon. 2 medics followed closely behind. "Everyone stay calm. It's probably a wild animal," one officer said, listening closely to the sounds above. "Do not approach the windows. We'll handle it from here." He cracked the window open slightly and raised the long weapon. Flames burst from its tip. Bang! 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 The gunshots rang out, and whatever was up there recoiled. It left a deep imprint on the roof and then fell silent. "Is it gone?" my mom whispered. My dad shook his head. "Not sure. Let's not move just yet." Panic swept through the car. "What the hell was that thing?" someone shouted. No one answered, not even the train officers. Their faces were tense, grim. Several more minutes passed with no further noise. Only then did the passengers begin to calm down. The headless passenger had already been carried away. To prevent a panic, the officers shut the compartment doors tightly and sat inside, holding those dark, heavy weapons in their laps. My mom looked at the two officers and seemed to find a bit of comfort. "Tony, with those guns, maybe we don't need to be afraid anymore, right?" My dad said quietly, "You've never seen that thing. You don't know how dangerous it is. Back in the day, my dad was hunted by it. They fired until the barrel smoked, but it barely scratched it. I think the only reason it left is because there were too many people too hard to make a move. And that thing, it's a master at messing with people's minds. We have to stay sharp." As my parents whispered, I stood between them. Somehow, like I felt a pull, I turned and looked out the window without thinking. What I saw nearly scared the soul right out of me. Outside, in the pitch-black darkness, a massive pair of glowing yellow eyes was staring straight at me. Each eye was the size of a bowl, its mouth stretched so wide it almost split the back of its head, and it seemed to be grinning at me. Then, in the blink of an eye, it vanished into the night. I couldn't even scream. My whole body trembled uncontrollably. My parents noticed something was wrong. "What is it?" they asked in low voices. It took a long moment before my heart even started beating again. "Dad, I saw it." "What?" My dad's face drained of color. He instinctively looked out the window, but there was nothing there. We were allowed to move through 3 connected train cars. For safety, my parents led me into a different one. Another hour went by. Nothing happened outside. Eventually, the 2 officers left. After a death like that, no one could sleep. Slowly, people began to talk. Suddenly, someone glanced at Larry. "You think that thing followed you here?" Larry stiffened. "What the hell are you talking about? Your parents were eaten by some freaky monster, right? Maybe it wasn't done with them and came looking for you." That first accusation lit a fuse. The murmurs grew louder. "Yeah, whatever that thing is, it tore a man's head off. That's no wild animal. And the only person who caught it on camera was you," someone added. Larry turned pale. "You can't just make stuff up like that." Someone snatched Larry's phone out of his pocket, pulled up the photo, and held it up for everyone to see. "Look at this. Tell me that doesn't look unnatural." People stared at the twisted figure in the photo. Their gazes shifted toward Larry, accusing, fearful. "It's you. You brought it here." Larry looked terrified and drifted toward us like he was searching for help. My dad hesitated, then said, "Let's not jump to conclusions. Even if that thing is here, we're on a train. We're protected. Didn't it already climb onto the roof and still couldn't get in?" At that, the noise in the car died down a little. "That's true. The passenger who died only got hurt because he stuck his head outside. If he hadn't, maybe nothing would have happened. Still, after all that, no one could sleep." Around 2 a.m., I finally couldn't fight the exhaustion anymore and dozed off. I don't know how long I was asleep when I felt someone gently stroking my hair. It felt comforting, like my mom's soft touch, but the feeling woke me up. I rolled over and mumbled, "Mom, stop it." My mom frowned. "I didn't touch you." She instinctively looked at my dad, who was wide-eyed, shaking his head. My mom seemed to understand immediately. She bit her lip hard, picked me up, and silently moved us to the other side of the car. We had just settled when a deafening crash erupted from the other side. A massive boulder had fallen from the cliff above, smashing a hole into the train car. The impact sent passengers screaming. 2 people near the breach were knocked out cold by the sheer force. Before anyone could even react, a long, fur-covered arm reached through the gap and yanked one of them outside. "Monster! There's a monster!" someone screamed. This time, someone caught a glimpse of the creature under the dim cabin lights. Screams erupted from all directions. The train officers quickly arrived. "What happened?" one of them asked. The witness, still trembling, pointed toward the breach made by the boulder. "There's a monster, I saw it. It's covered in fur, and its eyes are as big as bowls." One officer raised his flashlight and shone it through the opening. "There's nothing there. You sure you're not imagining things?" Everyone, calm down. It was probably just a wild animal from the mountains. "No, someone got dragged away. We all saw it," someone shouted. The officer frowned. "There's no missing passenger. Don't spread panic. It was just a rock slide, nothing more." He said a few more words, then turned and walked away. My dad's expression darkened. "That thing is smart. It knows the metal shell is too hard to break, so it climbed up the mountain to push rocks down." "Tony, you're saying that boulder was pushed?" My mom's face was ashen. My dad nodded. "It's after us. I think it realized I saw it." Remembering what he'd seen, my dad's face went pale again. "Its arms are long. Just its forearm is thicker than my thigh." "So what do we do now?" my mom asked, panicked. My dad shook his head. "We wait. It didn't get what it wanted. It's not going to leave easily. We need to be very careful." Just as he finished, someone else screamed, body trembling. "I saw it! Like a hairy giant tit just flashed past the train." "What does this monster want?" Panic spread like wildfire. "Maybe we should run. If we stay here, it might kill us all." Someone said it out loud, and others started echoing the thought. Soon, that idea took over the entire car. There were hardly any voices pushing back. "Are you crazy? You step outside now. You'll be a sitting duck," someone shouted, but no one listened. Someone had already grabbed the emergency hammer and started smashing a window. Larry showed up, seemingly from nowhere, and said to my parents, "Tony, sis, let's go too." My dad shook his head. Larry pleaded a few more times, but when it was clear they wouldn't budge, he joined the others and slipped out with the crowd. I watched Larry's back as he left. Something about it felt off. A strange memory surfaced in my mind. I tugged on my dad's sleeve. "Dad, I need to tell you something." "What is it?" I pointed toward where Larry had disappeared, my legs suddenly weak. "Didn't Larry die a few years ago?" My parents froze. Their faces went rigid. I added, "I remember you even took me to his memorial service." My dad frowned. "You sure you're not misremembering? When did Larry die?" I rubbed my temples. I wasn't so sure anymore. Was I misremembering? My parents didn't answer. They just stared silently out the window. It was the middle of the night. Everything outside was black, veiled in thick fog. In these conditions, going outside was the last thing anyone should do. But people were doing it anyway. My dad's face shifted suddenly. "Damn, someone in the car's been manipulated." He watched as more and more people pushed toward the exits. "If they all leave, we'll be the only ones left in here, a perfect target," my mom whispered. "Tony, maybe we should go too." There was no time to think it through. My dad hesitated for a moment, then gritted his teeth. "Okay, grab the clothes from the suitcase. We're changing new layers will help cover our scent." He rummaged through my mom's bag and pulled out a can of air freshener, spraying it all over the three of us. "We've been in the train too long. Lots of people probably have our scent on them by now. If we mask it, maybe we can trick the monster." With that, he grabbed our hands and led us out. Most passengers had already left. Aside from a few who stayed, the car was nearly empty. Those with flashlights held them up. Others used their phone lights, casting a pale glow into the fog. But the fog was too thick. The light barely reached a few feet before it was swallowed by the darkness. Larry emerged from the crowd. "Tony, sis, let's go together." I'm scared. My dad hesitated, then nodded. All right, but first, change your clothes. Larry didn't understand why, but did as told. Then my dad sprayed him down with air freshener as well. We followed the others toward the base of the mountain. To be safe, my dad gathered a few others to join us. Time crept by. After half an hour, the crowd began to thin out. Our group me, my parents, Larry, and a few other startled 10 people. Most folks weren't carrying proper flashlights, only small lights for basic visibility. They weren't strong enough to light up the path ahead, so we crept along the narrow trail, inching toward the foot of the mountain. No one knew how long it had been when the wind suddenly picked up in the mountains. A thick fog rolled in, cutting visibility down from a few meters to barely a single meter now. They could only see the people right next to them. My dad raised his voice slightly. Everyone, sound off every so often. We don't want to lose anyone. Everyone agreed. The mountain path was rough, and even after walking for over half an hour, they hadn't gone very far. My dad came to a stop, cleared his throat, and began counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He froze. There were only supposed to be 10 of them. Where had the 11th person come from? Panic spread instantly. A trembling voice called out, "Who are you? Show yourself!" The group began shouting. My parents held my hands tight, their palms slick with sweat. What's going on? Why the head count? A man emerged from the dense fog. Seeing the suspicious stares, he gave an awkward cough. I just got separated from the others. Took a wrong turn. Mind if I join you? Though unhappy, no one said much. They simply warned him not to act out. The group moved on again, but within minutes, a blood-curdling scream echoed through the mountains. My dad's face turned grim. It started killing. My mom turned pale. No one said a word, they just walked faster, heads down. The screams continued, coming from all directions. It was impossible to tell how many people had already been taken. Fortunately, they were still distant. With so many people in the mountains, the monster couldn't get to everyone at once. Another hour passed. The fog began to thin slightly. Visibility increased to a few meters. It was a little past 5 in the morning. From below, they could hear roosters and dogs. There was a village at the foot of the mountain. My dad brightened. Let's move. Once we reach the village, we'll find a car and get the hell out of here. Everyone picked up the pace again. Half an hour later, they reached the village. The screams from the mountains had faded. Once at the foot of the mountain, the group scattered, everyone running for their lives. My parents and I approached a house with the lights on and knocked. A young man, maybe in his 20s, answered, eyeing us warily. What do you want? Why are you banging on my door? It's like this, my dad said quickly. The snow shut down the road. The train stuck. We had an emergency, so we came down the mountain. Seeing our luggage and tired faces, the young man hesitated, then let us in. It's freezing out here. He brought out a small heater and casually asked, So, what's the rush? You all seem pretty panicked. Just some urgent business, my dad replied. Hey, do you have a car? We need to get to the nearest town. The young man sighed. I can't afford a car. My dad grew anxious. Don't worry, we'll pay you. But the young man shook his head. Not lying, I really don't have one. My dad pulled out some cash. Do you know who in the village does? The man hesitated, then pushed my dad's hand away. The village chief has a trike. I can go ask him. My mom quickly added, Thank you so much. The young man waved off the thanks, locked the inner gate behind him, and headed out. My dad stopped him. Wait when you come back. Knock 4 times. Once, then twice, then once again. What's that about? The young man asked, Frowning, my dad coughed. Just a precaution, in case someone else tries to sneak in. The young man looked confused but nodded and left. Should we have gone with him? My mom asked softly as she closed the gate. My dad shook his head. Better not. We don't know if that thing followed us. If it did, going with him might get him killed. My mom nodded in agreement. This was a good time to see if it had followed them. They didn't know how fast it was, but with a vehicle, they definitely have an advantage. Before long, the rumble of a motor came from outside. A vehicle had pulled up. Then came footsteps at the gate. Is that him? My dad asked, heading to the door, hopeful. But he paused, waiting for the agreed signal. Instead, there was a rapid banging bam bam bam. My dad's face changed. Who's there? An old man's voice answered. Didn't you send Carlos to find me? Said you needed a ride to town. If not, I'm leaving. Wait, my dad called. Did Carlos tell you how to knock? What kind of nonsense is that? You out-of-towners are paranoid. What, you on the run? The man snapped, then slammed his fists against the door so hard it rattled. Open up, open up. My dad stepped back, face tense. My mom clutched his arm. Tony, could that thing be outside? My dad pulled both of us into his arms and stayed silent. I looked up, his face was as white as paper. Then a horn blared, and the banging stopped. Less than a minute later, another knock came. A middle-aged man's voice called, Hey, open up, it's freezing out here. My parents looked at each other, stunned. Who are you? Who am I? The man replied, confused. I'm the village chief. Didn't Carlos come get me? My dad's voice shook. Did he tell you how to knock? Oh yeah. The man knocked once, then twice, then once more. My dad finally opened the gate. Outside stood a man in his 40s or 50s, next to a 3-wheeled truck. My dad peeked through the fog and asked, Did you see anything strange on the way over? The chief frowned. Maybe. Thought I saw a figure in the fog. My dad's eyes flickered. We saw it too, on our way down. Couldn't make it out, maybe a bear? At that, the chief stepped in and slammed the gate shut. Why didn't you say something earlier? He snapped. We were in a rush, didn't think about it. No idea it followed us. My dad changed the subject. Chief, would you sell me your trike? My mom gave my dad a look. She understood what he meant. If they let the chief drive them, the thing might come after him too. How much you offering? The chief asked. My dad pulled out all the cash he had. Is this enough? The chief counted it and shook his head. Not enough. I'll drive you instead. With no choice, my parents agreed. As they drove off, the chief suddenly hit the brakes and turned around, giving them a strange look. You ever wonder why Carlos didn't come back with me? My parents stiffened. What do you mean? The chief gave a creepy smile. What if I'm not the real village chief? Their faces twisted in fear, but then the man burst into laughter. Carlos said you folks were jumpy. Guess he wasn't kidding. He grinned. Relax. Carlos just went to pick vegetables. My dad chuckled nervously. Don't scare me like that, I've got a weak heart. Buckle up, said the chief. I'm speeding up. He gunned the motor, and they zoomed away from the village. The fog thickened again. They drove for over 10 kilometers with no incident, but my parents stayed tense. The chief, cheered by the generous tip, hummed a tune as he drove until, suddenly, he stopped. Hey, why do I feel like something's following us? My dad's eyes were grim. He looked around at the fog. There's nothing out there. The chief muttered to himself and kept driving. But soon, he grew increasingly uneasy. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw a tall shadow in the mist. What is that? The steering wheel trembled in the chief's hands. My dad shivered too. It followed us, but we were going so fast. How did it keep up? My mom asked. Because it's not normal, my dad said. We're not going to outrun it. Only one person might be able to help us. He turned to the chief. Do you know Fengmen Village? Shouldn't be far. Yeah, I know it, the chief said. That's where you want to go? Yes, my dad said. Please. The chief paused. It'll cost extra. The vehicle sped up again, the engine nearly smoking. By 2 p.m., they reached Fengmen Village. My dad seemed to know the way, directing turns until they reached an old house. The trike stopped. They paid, and the chief quickly drove off, clearly spooked. My parents ignored him and knocked. When the door opened, I understood why they hadn't said him or her earlier. The elder who answered was ancient and hunched, gender indeterminate. My dad dropped to his knees. Please, you have to help us. It's here. The elder recognized him. This is the karma your family brought. I can't help you. Go back. My dad went pale, kneeling and knocking his head against the floor. Even if you won't help me, the child and my wife are innocent. Please help them. The child's not even Meneno blood relation. Before he could finish, heavy footsteps echoed from the fog. My parents turned. A figure loomed in the mist over 2 meters tall, covered in long fur, with limbs like tree branches and bowl-sized eyes locked on us. The elder sighed, walked forward and shouted, Sister, it's been so many years. Can't you let go? The figure trembled, but gave no response. The elder looked at my dad and shook their head. There's nothing more I can do. My dad clenched his teeth and ran forward. If you need to vent, take it out on me. But please, let my wife and child go. They're innocent. Then he dropped to his knees and bowed. My mom did the same. Time passed. The fog held still. When they finally lifted their heads, the monster had vanished. The elder stood beside me, gently patting my head. She lost a child once too. My parents, trembling, stepped forward and gave the elder a deep bow. Thank you for saving our lives. The elder shook their head. You saved yourselves. My parents froze. What do you mean? The elder smiled faintly. Do you remember why you left home in the first place? My parents exchanged a look and saw the same shock in each other's eyes. Too many strange things had happened. The snow supposedly blocked the mountain, but the train had just left the station. If the snow had really sealed the route, why would the station allow departure? And if something that serious happened in their train car, why didn't passengers in the other cars react? And Larry had really died years ago. My parents both broke into goosebumps. Right. Why did we leave home? Did we even leave at all? Was it others who were manipulated, or was it us?